Welcome back to the channel. Today's going to be fun. We are going to go 27 years back in time when things were a little more simple, when Ultra Magnums ruled the day. Today, we're going to look at a Remington 700 chambered in 300 Remington Ultra Magnum. We're going to look at this cartridge, this rifle. We're going to see why it's kind of a forgotten cartridge today. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Now, before we do a deep dive into the cartridge, I just wanted to show you the gun real fast. This is a Remington 700, chambered in 300 rum. And it comes with a 26-inch barrel. Now, in my short, I had made an assumption that this was a Sendero barrel. Some people corrected me. So if you guys know what this heavy contour barrel is, let me know, because I'm not 100% sure. Okay, you got your classic Remington 700 action, and honestly, it's really smooth. I'm pretty impressed with it, okay? It does have an aftermarket trigger set very light. This is a Trigger Tech trigger set around 1/2 pound. Very light. It's topped off with a Vortex Viper PST. I think it's a Gen 1, 6-24 by 50. The stock, I do think this is an aftermarket stock as well. I think it's a Macmillan. Overall, I have a lot of high expectations for this rifle to shoot well. So high expectations, I'm loading a very picky bullet in it just to see how well it can shoot it. So yeah, we are going to be shooting the 210 grain AccuBond long range. But we'll go into the ballistics and the 300 rum and kind of why it's kind of forgotten. Okay, let's do a quick little history lesson. The first, what I considered Ultra Magnum to ever be released, is the 300 Weatherby in 1944. And up until 1996, when the 3378 Weatherby came out, this was the fastest, most powerful, factory-offered, SAMI-spec 30 caliber cartridge. You're pushing a 180 grain at 3,250 feet per second. It's a true powerhouse and is still extremely popular, renowned today. Winchester in 1963 came out with the 300 Winchester Magnum. Now, it wasn't really to compete with the 300 Weatherby. It was more to compete, honestly, with the 7 Rem Mag that came out the year before from Remington. And the 300 Win Mag, well, let's just say it has dominated the 30 caliber market. And to this day, it is still the most popular 30 caliber Magnum. Now, you can push a 180 grain bullet out of a 300 Win Mag, 3160 feet per second. It's really good performance. It's best, obviously, if you hand load it. So all around, the 300 Win Mag is just a great choice, and most hunters are using 300 Win Mag. Then in 1999, Remington finally got into the 30 caliber game, and they decided to one-up the 300 Weatherby and definitely one-up the 300 Winchester Magnum. And they went big, even with the name, the 300 Remington Ultra Magnum. This is a giant case. To put things in perspective, the 300 Winchester Magnum has a case capacity of water grains of around 90. The 300 Weatherby is around 100 grains. The 300 Remington Ultra Mag, around 113. It is a massive case. And the 300 rum will push a 180 grain bullet 3350 feet per second. So it has about 100 feet per second advantage over a 300 Weatherby. It's powerful. Now, the parent case to the 300 rum is apparently the 404 Jeffries. Now, fun little fact, the Nosler cartridges like the 26, the 28, 30, the 27, the 33, it is based off a rum case, but it's just shortened compared to the full length size of a 300 rum. Now, some of the benefits of the 300 rum is, as you can see, it's not belted. It's not based off that 375 H&H case. And the other benefits is that, it is the fastest 30 caliber without a belt. Minus the 3378 Weatherby, this is, it comes in second. It's stupid fast. As I said, a 180 grain at 3350 feet per second. So what are some of the downsides of the 300 rum? Well, it being developed in 1999, seating a bullet at its ideal place. It wasn't really a thing back then. And so this right here is a 300 rum loaded to Sammy spec. You know, the bullet is just stuffed in the case like all the old 30 caliber magnums in the past. So it's not ideal to get the most performance. Well, yeah, stuffing that bullet, it's just silly. This 300 rum, I measured to the lands, and this is 20 thou off the lands. So it's awesome, but at the same time, this is going to be single feeding because the magazine's not 3.835 inches like this is loaded at. So yeah, that's the downside to the 300 rum. You can't load it out like it's supposed to be. It is what it is. What are some of the other downsides? Well, if you hadn't guessed, it's extremely overbore. You know, you're not really getting the most performance that you can get in a 26-inch barrel. Honestly, this gun minimum needs a 28-inch barrel, ideally a 30-inch barrel to really get the most out of the 300 rum case. So it's short barrel life, not efficient whatsoever. You know, you're going to be burning well over 90 grains of powder, and it's going to be at best 50 to 100 feet per second faster than a 300 Weatherby that's burning 10 grains less of powder. I've pulled up GRT here real quick. I just want to give you an example of GRT just not being accurate. There are a small handful of cartridges I will not use in GRT because it's just nowhere close to being accurate. And 300 Remington Ultra Mag is one of those cartridges. So, you know, I've put in 65,000 PSI. It's 113 grain water capacity. Good gravy. Let's just load it to 3.7. Give it the benefit of the doubt. Load it out a little longer. Barrel length 26 inches. We're just going to use a 180 grain Nosler AccuBond with N570. And for some reason, GRT says its top velocity is 3,190 feet per second. So according to GRT, the 300 Weatherby is 60 feet per second faster, despite having, 13 grains less of case capacity. I have no idea what's going on there. And just an example, you've seen it, 300 Win Mag and 300 Rum. The 300 Win Mag has like 23 grains less of case capacity. But according to GRT, you're topping out at 3165 feet per second with a 180 grain AccuBond. And the Rum's only doing 3190. Yeah, that sucks. So I want to do a quick little comparison between the most popular 30 caliber Magnum 300 Win Mag versus a 300 Rum. What are the realistic velocities when hand loading? Okay, so here's 300 Win Mag loaded with a 175 terminal cent. Yeah, sorry, I pulled this bullet and kind of destroyed the tip. But you're going to max out probably around 3180, 3,930 foot-pounds of energy. Just really solid performance. And this data is going to be at sea level. At 400 yards, the bullet's going 2464 feet per second, 2,359 foot-pounds. 600 yards, the bullet's still going plenty fast enough to expand, and 1,789 foot-pounds of energy. Plenty of energy, just plenty of power all around from a 300 Win Mag. All right, now we get this 300 Rum with the exact same terminal cent, 175. I've looked at reloading data. I've talked to people that hand load this cartridge, and while staying at pressure, or below pressure, I should say, I think 3350 is definitely obtainable. And your energy is 4,362 foot-pounds. At 400 yard, the bullet is going 2,607 feet per second. And then you have 2,642 foot-pounds of energy. So it's almost 300 more foot-pounds than the 300 Win Mag at 600. Bullet's going, 130 feet per second faster than the 300 Win Mag. And then you have almost 250 more foot-pounds of energy at 600, 2018 versus 1789. And then a little over MOA less in drop, 8.83 versus 10, and then 3.284 versus 3.48. Not a huge difference. But the 300 Rum is definitely faster, flatter, and it's a hammer. Let's talk about why the 300 Rum is kind of forgotten and really not used that much in 2026. Now, of course, there are a handful of owners that love it, that swear by it, but the vast majority of people, when they're looking for a 30 caliber Magnum, are going to go to a 300 Win Mag or a 300 PRC. So I've kind of talked about some of the weaknesses of the 300 Rum is the magazine restriction, but also in factory ammo, 300 Rum is way more expensive than 300 Win Mag, And also the 300 rum factory ammo. You know, 180 grain is probably its most popular factory bullet option. It's only going 3250, so it's a little watered down in factory ammo. And honestly, the 300 Weatherby does 3250 in factory ammo. So you're burning quite a bit more powder, and you're paying just as much as a Weatherby ammo, if not more, to get the same performance. And so I can understand why people will take the more economical route of getting a 300 Win Mag when it's only a little bit faster. And for the hand loaders, you're burning a lot more powder to get a little bit more performance out of a 300 rum. So in the coming days, you're going to see how the 300 Rem in this Remington 700 is going to shoot with the 210 ABLR. Now, I've loaded it up with rocks and dynamite. I'm expecting some good velocity out of this. Hopefully some good accuracy. We'll see. The ABLR is not an easy bullet to load for. So we might have to switch to a 212 ELDX just to see if this gun can shoot. But N570, we're going to get some velocity. Now, what kind of velocity am I expecting out of this 210 grain? Honestly, I think it'll be a disappointment if I don't hit 3100 plus. That's kind of my goal, is to hit 3100. Now, the likelihood of it shooting small at 3100 is pretty low, but you never know. But man, a 210 grain bullet at 3100 feet per second with a G7 of 333, man, that is absolute performance. If you guys are wanting to see how this gun shoots with this bullet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time.